Hello, welcome to Iron GM. Today, we'll be taking one of my ideas and making it into a never-before-seen show on TPK Roleplay, a giant game mastering tournament. The motivation for spending my time and others in creating this show is to encounter new, original one-shots, which could truly be called artistic creations. To realize my dream, I secretly started looking for top GMs of various styles of gaming. These GMs might have what it takes to become one of the Iron GMs, the invincible creators of game running skills. Here today, in this arena, GMs will compete to gain the favor of the chat and the judges in hopes to take home the title of Iron GM. Both our GMs will have 1 hour to tackle the theme ingredient of the day and the added elements that will be sprinkled in along the way. Using all their senses, skills, and creativity, they will prepare a one-shot that has never been played before. Here on Iron GM, every battle, reputations are on the line, as are the hopes of each contestant to make it through the tournament and to finally be declared the Iron GM. What inspirations does today bring? And how will these GMs fight back? The heat will be on. I am your host, PurpleFill, and I have with me my two co-hosts that will be joining us for judging these one-shots. I have with me the GM of Oathsworn and Master of Mythology himself, TurkAccented. Good to have you with us, Turk. How are you doing today?
I am great. Every single time I think it'll be a little bit easier or less exciting even to get back into another round, but every single time I prove myself wrong because we have two fantastic GMs here going head to head, and I am super excited for the work they put out. And I'm just terrified that the prospect of me having to rate my friend's work once again. I'll say it once again and again. It's dirty work, but I guess someone's got to do it, Purple.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And helping us do this dirty work, we have with us the GM of Madness Calls It Forth, an avid storyteller, ProperNerdy. Proper, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. I'm not at all nervous at all, and I love to crush my friends' feelings.
Well, that's not quite what we're looking for, but we'll take it.
Got the Simon Cowell of Iron GM here.
It's fine. I mean, I did very nearly ruin the secret ingredient on the Zoom call before we started, but I caught myself and didn't say it.
Well, that's good. All right, without further ado, I'll start us off with our contestants. This contestant has a mastery of all things dark and mysterious. Be careful not to get trapped in her dark echoes. When it comes down to it, though, she can mess you up pretty bad. You might not be able to make heads or Zorpy's tails of it. In order to get down to what really makes her tick, though, you might just need to launch a Harper's investigation. It is the one, the only Lukalock. Luka, how are you doing today, and how are you feeling about this challenge?
I was really, really nervous all day, to the point where I'm like, I might throw up, it's fine. And then you had that really well-timed pause in my intro, and I'm back. I'm with it now.
Good. I'm glad that my intros can provide that. I hope they do that and loosen you up a little bit. But other than that, do you have any plan going into this? Any skills you're going to rely on or lean to really drive you through to win this?
I am going to rely on my organization and hopefully my familiarity with just setting up one-shots, having run Harper's for 2 seasons now. And hope it carries me through.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll look over on our other contestant on the other side. Our next contestant puts on an amazing show. Just make sure you don't get left in the atrium of Aquarius. For this contestant has a way of making sure you end up both 45 degrees below and 6 feet from hell. Whether plain Sauron, the Emperor, or a group of psychopathic clowns, there's one and only person it could be. It's Phzoul. Phzoul, thanks for being here with us. How are you doing today?
Purple. So basically I'm Phzoul. You may have seen me on TPK. Yeah, am I? So sounds like Luca has found the zone. I'm not quite there yet. My biggest, in terms of prep, I picked my genre. I think and I chose not to go with D&D. That could hurt me because I find D&D is probably the most flexible, but I'm going to try and stick to my guns. What am I most afraid of? It's the time. I'm notoriously, I take an hour to pick out a picture, so that's going to work against me for sure.
Hopefully you can do a little bit better at that today,
We'll get to
because
the
one
end.
picture might not be what we're looking for.
I'll be like, I have my title finished. Yeah, it's funny because this is not GMing. We were talking before chat that you could literally have 3 lines on a piece of paper and sit down with a group and GM, because you can wing it and they're telling the story with you. In this, you actually have to prepare it for someone else, and that's challenging.
It really is. That's really the challenge we have going on here. And just to make sure that all of our viewers understand what's going on, Iron GM here is a show that we've made that's a tournament where you have 8 magnificent GMs, Phzoul and Lukalock included, and they're going to be competing in this tournament to figure out who is the Iron GM of TPK. We have this is now the second side of our tournament. We've already had our first 2 matches and have seen who's going to be going through to the semifinals. And what we got here and kind of how this whole show works is we'll have them go through. They'll have about an hour to prepare, starting with a secret ingredient, and then a couple ingredients will get added in as they go on. We'll take a couple interviews with them during their work just to see where they're going with it. And at the end, they'll be judged. And they'll be judged not just by us judges up here, but also by you, chat. You guys will get a vote to vote on which one-shot you would want to play in, or which one you think is the best. However you want to do it, you get 1 vote, so wherever you want to vote for it, that's how it works. How our judging works in general is us judges will be basically deciding which we think is better in different categories. There's 7 categories we have: exploration, social, combat, narrative, handouts, style, and the use of ingredients. I think I added an extra one, but I'm not. That's about it for the most point. They'll kind of get their values averaged out between our 3 judges, and we'll get a total score. And whoever wins the chat vote will get 5 bonus points added on, which can make a huge difference in these. It's been the deciding factor for our first 2 shows so far. So remember, chat, your vote matters. And without further ado, we'll get to the main ingredient. Whether in pristine condition, a hunk of junk that's just barely strung together, or a derelict crash landing, this ingredient can be a place to explore or a place for our players to call home, for it holds amazing technology that could allow our players to explore the stars. From the Enterprise to the Millennium Falcon, to spelljammers, starships, or even a simple flying saucer, today's ingredient is a spaceship. And with that, contestants, are you ready?
Hey, thank you for throwing my.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Purple, thank you for throwing my genre completely out the window. I'm 30 seconds into this, and I now have to switch genres.
Oh man, here I was thinking, man, they're playing right into his hands. I'm screwed.
Well, we can't wait to see what you come up with. So, now, TPK, with an open heart and an empty table, I say unto you, in the words of my uncle, the French phrase that calls these Iron GMs into battle. Allez au donjon! You may begin. And I've started the timer.
We really had to do it.
Well,
didn't we?
your French pronunciation has certainly gotten better over the last few episodes.
I've been working on it. I've been practicing. I'm working on my Duolingo.
I appreciate it, all the hard work we put in. I think who was the? I feel like, oh yeah, you were kind of holding on to this secret ingredient for a few episodes now, and you're like, I think it's time to bring it out.
I was really excited about this since we switched to being just a D&D one to being more genre and allowing other people to do stuff. I really wanted the idea of something that no one would think of in fantasy, a spaceship. And then I thought about it more and I realized people have actually thought about it. You have Spelljammers, you look at the origins of D&D, and there's a lot of just whatever pop culture you want to throw in there. I mean, you look at things like Sunblades, they're lightsabers. You look, I mean, there's tons of stories from old games that they had that are just, you know, a spaceship crash. You guys get to explore it as fantasy, you know, fantasy characters and just see what it's like to explore a spaceship. So I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot of ways they can go with this.
This is a great one for these two specifically because we have seen both of them kind of do space before.
For sure.
Luca's is a little bit more of a stretch, but we did have the like interdimensional pirate ship badass females. That was a fun one.
I was gonna say, I feel like Luca actually has like a couple because she has that. She has killer kobolds from outer space.
That
That's
counts,
straight up
yep.
there. I think one of the Harper's investigations was like you know, one of those kind of I mean, the Illithids are all basically aliens if you think about it. So anything with that could easily be a spaceship if you want it to be.
And she's in a good headspace too because she's starting Harper's Variants, which I don't know how much information is out there about it, but it's very different than her previous works. And so I think she might be in a good headspace to work on something that's not traditional fantasy TTRPGs. So I assume she'll still stick to D&D, but she may have a more broad idea of what she wants to do.
Yeah, I'm interested again. Also, Phzoul, you know, he has a lot of other stuff in more genres. He kind of dips his toe all over the place. I mean, he's done a couple different Star Wars one shots. I know Turk, I think you're in both of those that he ran with TPK. At least he was in the Thrawn, and then he's also done with Atrium Aquarius. I mean, it's not really spaceships, but there are spaceships in there with the altered carbon setting is what that is in. So I think there's like a lot of ways he can go with this too, especially he likes to leave his system very agnostic. So I'm kind of curious what his plan was and where he's going to go with it.
I'm interested to see if he does Star Wars though, because we did have several very good one-shots in Star Wars universe. So
good times. Yeah.
Turk, what are you thinking about?
So I think one thing you touched on and in the beginning, just kind of the descriptions of ships is, I mean, when we get right down to it, space and spaceships have kind of been turned the same way. It's kind of a reimagining of the Age of Sail for a new generation. We can't romanticize the past as much as we can visualize a better future in some situations. And so those same kind of tropes of intergalactic of traveling to distant and strange places is something you could just as easily find in antiquity, except they, of course, dreamed of far-off seas, and our seas now extend to the stars above. And I think, really, when we get down to it, I mean, mechanically, I think I'd be very interested to see how everyone works it in, because unlike, you know, a sea-based adventure where a hole in the ship can just be patched up really quick, a hole breach in space is something an entire adventure could revolve around. I mean, additionally, because we are going into the stars, supposedly, it does open a wider variety of creatures to encounter. You don't find yourself facing purely Terran threats anymore. You can find yourself in complex socio-political situations with a species that has a different moral structure than our own. There's a lot of options that, because you say spaceships is the theme.
Yeah.
But that also opens it up to all of the sci-fi genre with one single word. You were mentioning Sunblades and how it's all kind of so closely interconnected, and we think of spaceship, everyone goes to their most iconic spaceship they can think of, and you kind of realize that all of sci-fi is built on a similar weave, much like a lot of fantasy is based off of the Tolkien Old English molding. So we'll have to see where they take it, and if we might end up with a lot of similar theming.
Yeah, I think there's another one that I'd kind of thought of before, that a different interpretation for Spaceship that I wonder if everyone might overlook. But I mean, we have spaceships already right now. If you wanted to set like a gravity type one-shot that's, you know, just outside space, you could do something cool with that. You could do, you know, I don't know, like a Monster of the Week moon landing game. I think that something like that could be really cool, where you're the first astronaut to set on the moon, and all of a sudden there's some terrible horror out there. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go with this. Moon's haunted. Everyone knows that. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where both of them go with that. I think there's a lot of options, and I think as we figure out where they're leaning, it'll be interesting to see where it goes from there.
For right now, we don't have a lot of information about these two, but we do have some people starting to set up their games, and it's really interesting to see the way they work. We saw last week Sarah's whole like one-shot setup idea was crazy, but I'm really intrigued by the way that Luca has set up her like outline so far.
Yeah, so far a little bit of action over on Phzoul's side. Looks like he's already got an image of a spaceship up, and some sort of map layout. I can't quite tell what's going on. He's still fiddling with it.
Started very strong. I think eagle-eyed viewers with strong memories might recall a similar background style from the Thrawn one-shot. I think a lot of...
To be fair, all of this is a single image. It's not several images overlaid on top of each other.
Right.
This is all one screenshot.
Something I think we typically see from...
I think the spaceship's different.
Yeah, spaceship's definitely different. That's not a Star Wars spaceship. That's almost Firefly-esque. But honestly, I think it might be Space Engineers. But something we do often see from Phzoul-based one-shots or adventures even is he likes the style of kind of creating a collage of images to show his players what's going on and who's there and what you're kind of experiencing, rather than having one set map, kind of letting them create their own setting through the small visual indicators of what's around.
It's like supplemental theater of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, you kind of brought up a point there that I think we've said it both, and people in chat have said it, or it's been said here, but this really is kind of a battle of the handouts. Both Luca and Phzoul are known for having amazing handouts. They have a lot of time to prepare them now. Kind of what can they do on a short term? It'll be really interesting to see if they do focus on that, because I don't know, just from all of their games that I've been in or watched, both of them are always really on point in their handouts. So I'm really curious to see if they're able to take that strength that they have for their longer form preparation games, see if they're able to drive that through on something with such a tight deadline.
We already have our first title, and I'm already a fan. Luca has decided to title her one shot as The Gloom Rift, which I'm already intrigued. I thought she had a character for a second, but then I remember that Roll20 just randomly names your characters, so that was fun.
It's a mysterious note.
My name is Mysterious Note.
It's a pretty
well, you know,
pretty good name.
I've as much as we talk about random name generators and Cole constantly just using sounds to name his stuff, no one that I've met has ever used their Roll20 randomly generated name as character basis. And I think that's a challenge someone should take up eventually. Won't be me. I think too much about these things, but I trust someone else would.
Season 2, Iron GM. Your only inspiration is a singular name.
It's Elakio Quizmikik. Go for it. Just end up with a bunch of Mr. Mixel Pixes. What I think we should discuss is something that we got in the pre-call, that Luca is pretty much setting herself purely on a D&D 5e track. I think she mentioned she's using the compendium at least for 5e and using that as a basis, which I think, of course, on the one hand, is a bit limiting in regards to what you're really able to work with in regards to System 5e not being the best sci-fi genre, but certainly not a stranger to it. But at the same time, it's going to allow her to create encounters a lot easier because she doesn't have to worry about statting out everything. She can pull in and edit from a stronger base than someone who is who can't pull from the Roll20 compendium. And as someone who does occasionally throw together last-minute sessions, it's very helpful not to have to worry about remembering the stat block for a giant scorpion or something. Basic D&D enemies should be fairly on hand.
I think it could really help, though. I think if you limit yourself to a specific, setup, that, oh, I'm not going to run, an epic space quest, because we're doing D&D. So, that shapes the way that your brain reaches for ideas. You think immediately, okay, I'm doing D&D. Why the heck would there be a spaceship in my D&D world? And I think you have a giant poster of this in your living room, Turk, because I have visited there. That's not a weird thing to say online at all. But the idea of what entails a spaceship, I feel like you have this cool fantasy thing of a giant god living in outer space, and if that comes hurtling down to Earth, it's still just as fascinating a plot hook as a spaceship that is showing up in 2835. So I think making it a very specific attempt might actually really help her in just narrowing down her ideas.
No, definitely. Kill 6 Billion Demons is the art where that's from, and that has a really fun way of blending kind of a future tech with pasts, where someone armed with a gun can be just as effective as someone with a tiny bit of a sword, because, fuck the rules.
We do have our first notes on Phzoul's game. I don't know how far we are in the timeline right now, Purple, but...
we have about 3 minutes until we're gonna pull someone in to interview. We did get a small question from the chat of what are all of our favorite spaceships. I'll go quick. My first answer is unfortunately something that no one will get, but from one of my first games, we played a Star Wars game, and our ship was called the Sun Chaser, and it will forever be my favorite ship. But as an answer that's maybe a little bit easier for people to understand and more pop culturally, I'm gonna go with the Rocinante from The Expanse. I think the show, at least the design of it, is really cool, really sleek. I kind of like that not quite full future, somewhere in between. So that's my answer. I'll leave it to you guys.
Proper.
Of course, the first one I thought of was the TARDIS, because I'm that nerd. Dr. Donna all the way. No other combo. And then the one after that came up with, which honestly works well because it's a D&D spaceship, is the Star Blaster from the Adventure Zone. So, I think that's appropriate.
It's a good one.
I assume, Turk, yours is the one that you're currently in, that you're flying through space while streaming the game for us.
This is a very fun background, especially because it's blowing up COVID molecules on the sides. No, I think... Oh, it's a tight race. I do enjoy quite a few sci-fis. I mean, iconic things for me is always going to be the X-Wing. If I want to get slightly more hipster, I'd probably say I really like the B-Wing. But I think one of my favorite spaceship ships is going to be the Pillar of Dawn from the Halo series. I think there's something just so wonderfully human about what is our ship design going to be? Well, does Isaac Newton's laws still apply in space? Yeah, okay. We're just going to put a big gun that's just going to shoot in a straight line till forever. Though the Normandy also comes to mind. Oh, I love the Normandy SR2.
That's a good one.
Those are my top two, right? The Normandy SR2 or the Pillar of Infinity.
I do want to give a quick shout out to I don't know the name of it, but the ship from Lost in Space, because I got to play a robot in Turk, what was that called?
The Robo Bros or something. You're time cops. You're fighting Robo Strahd.
Basically, we got to play a cool Mecha Dudes. There we go.
Yeah.
I got to play the robot from Lost in Space. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. So
Alright.
whatever that one's called.
We're at time to pull someone. Who do we want to pull in first?
Should we? Oh, go for
I feel like I am seeing a character now here that I'd love to, on the character screen on Luca's side, that I'd love to chat about.
All right, let's pull Luca in.
Oh, I remember
Yeah?
these folks.
All right, I'm gonna take us over to Luca's one-on-one screen here as we get her attention. Hey, how's that?
Hey, how severe was my concentrating face?
Very.
It was great. No one's commenting about it. Don't even worry about it. But hey,
Oh, God.
the Sisterhood Beyond Space. Tell me more.
Okay, so these are ladies that you may recognize from Harper Season 1. You guys said Spaceship, and it was immediately like, can I bring them back?
I
so
did
these will
talk
not
about
be
them. So
any ladies that we have seen before, but I would like to think that this organization just exists out in the astral sea. Much like the Harpers, but, slightly more space-like and possibly a little more badass. But
when are we getting a series?
Well, I mean, I guess right now I'm working on one, so
Whoops.
there's I'm making this right now. This can be episode 1.
Coming to a cabin near you.
Yeah. Hey. So what I'm thinking, and I don't know how much you guys want to know so far. How much do you?
Everything. What
Tell
do you
us,
got?
yeah.
What do you
Okay.
got?
Okay, so I don't know if you can see under locations, astral planet, and by planet we're really talking like a floating rock in the sea, but it is called Zeter, and it's a very damp place, lots of fog, lots of mist, kind of dangerous, unforgiving terrain, kind of backwoods, outer rim vibes, if we're talking space. And there is a very, very small chapter of ladies there that do their sisterhood beyond space thing, but most of the time it tends to just be them kind of helping out their community more than anything else, in a very sort of local witches kind of vibe. But there is something wrong. In this world, in this universe, there's been something wrong ever since what the old people call the Spell War. It started out as very small silvery rifts in the astral sea, which many people thought were just the normal rifts to other planes, because that's usually how they appear in the sea. But these, when you got near them, people seem to become struck with a sort of anguish or gloom that they would slowly over time give into, overcome with despair, and just kind of give up on living, to where it's a full-on thing happening now across the astral sea. It's prevalent anywhere you go. And I'm working on, these ladies have gotten together and decided they're going to do something about it from their little backwoods part of the astral sea.
No.
Will we be playing as the Sisterhood, or will we be playing
Yep.
alongside the Sisterhood?
As the sisterhood, they accept all. It's really just, all ladies and other people that can be badasses in space come join us.
Love
Now,
to see it.
you have a handout here with an outline set into some 5 scenes. How do you think it's going to be difficult to fit that all in and keep it coherent? Like, not coherent, but like, keep it so streamlined as this? Or
Yeah, so I'm going to be following the outline that I usually do with Harper's, where, hey, here's what you need to do. Go here. And get information. And of course, it's usually never as simple as that. You got to go and get the information, but there's always something going on It's never just search the room and find the piece of paper. And then from there, it's usually what I refer to in my mind as like kind of the search. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we go out, we're searching the road for clues, we come across this, or we talk to the villagers, kind of thing. And then it's the actual going to the quest, the main location, the dungeon, the castle, the whatever. And then there's usually some sort of encounter or baddie or something you got to talk to, and then there's the wrap up.
Cool. All right. Oh, we do want to respect your time because you have about 5 minutes till we get the next ingredient. So, thank you for sharing what you've got. You got 5 minutes, and then we'll call you back in, and we'll switch over and grab Phzoul quick. Thank you for sharing what you've worked on so far.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And I will message Phzoul probably in Discord. I think so. We're gonna do that. See if we can grab his attention and pull him in.
Whoop, wait.
Always the hardest part, honestly.
If we clap really hard.
If you believe in Phzoul hard enough, he'll come back to life.
I'll do the multiple ways of doing it.
We just wave really big.
Might not have us up on a screen.
I'm just gonna ping him up a whole
Phzoul will
bunch.
just never get the other ingredients. He'll just work an hour on just this.
Is he?
We have some semblance of him switching screens.
Do we pull up a note on him?
Oh, here we go. I got this.
You got it?
Message him on Zoom.
Might have all of Zoom muted though.
He might do it. If you have Phil's number.
Turk. I was about to do the same thing.
I did the same thing too.
We're just
So is he,
messing up
actually.
Phzoul's.
Well, he's got to answer his gosh dang phone.
Show to players was a good move. That's a good one.
We'll see if that works.
Now the question is he just Googling photos right now?
Oh, if he's Googling, you might not see him.
Here, wait. Someone try call him on Discord. Don't start a video call. Just start a voice call. As long as it's not me, it should be fine. Oh, okay. Hi.
Didn't take too long.
Sorry, I was watching the chat window and not the. It showed up in the handout.
Well, we tried to
chatted
come
you everywhere.
My apologies.
All right, we're a little bit lower on time than we wanted. That took a little bit longer, but that's all right. What have you got for us? We see like an image of a spaceship. There's a little bit of a handout. What's going on?
Yeah, so basically the general idea is that this takes place in the future, and mankind has been traveling the stars for about 100 years. But for that first 100 years, rescue was not an option. So if something went wrong, you put out an SOS, nobody would come. Simply too expensive, too long. So over the first 100 years of space travel, all of these kind of wrecks or derelicts or ships just were lost. Now the characters in a time period where they work for a salvage company. They're called late rescue salvage. They're not actually going to rescue. Now it's economical for them to basically go out with their ship, with their tug, their salvage tug. They track down these wrecks. It's kind of like modern treasure hunters, right? Looking for shipwrecks, but in space. So the whole idea is this crew is going out. This is fairly routine for them, but they're going to be in for a bit of a surprise. So they'll find the wreck. They'll do some readings. There's going to be some exploration going on board, but very quickly they're going to realize something's wrong, and there's going to be an alien artifact. So far.
Cool.
So we're using the secret ingredient as both your ship and the ship that you are searching?
That's correct. Yeah. To be honest, the ship that people arrive in probably isn't going to feature overly much. I mean, other than to get them there and maybe to escape on. It's the derelict ship that's going to be the main focus of the adventure.
Got it. Sounds good.
It's nice that you include the possibility of naming their own ship. I find that's always a nice touch.
Are
Yeah, for
you
sure.
playing with the one-shot RPG system?
That's right. Yeah. I don't technically have a version of it for sci-fi yet, but the modern horror one, you just have to swap out automobile for pilot, and you're ready to go.
Makes sense
Very
to me.
nice. All right.
How do you think you're coming with this curveball of throwing out your original?
Well, funny
intention?
enough, my original idea was Pulp 30s. I was going Indiana Jones, Pulp 30s. I even had a friend of mine had said to me that Marion Ravenwood, who was one of the characters in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He said, "Why don't you do a one shot for my regular game with and I want to play Marion Ravenwood?" And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So it was kind of like that was where I was going in a spaceship. I immediately had flashbacks of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, and I did not want to go.
Fair. All right. With that, I think we're about at the time to give out our added element. So we'll see if we can add.
So stay in the call, and
Luca
we'll
back
grab
in.
Luca
Stay
again.
Here. We'll grab Luca. This way. Grab her. See if that went through. You back?
Hi, yes, hi.
Hi. Cool.
The realization faces are always the best.
All right. You guys have had about 20 minutes. It is time for
That's
our.
insane. Oh my god.
It's time for our added element.
Okay.
From a dog the size of a house to a small cow that lives in a bottle the size of a thimble. This element can be anything from a giant chessboard that players can walk on to large shoes or mushrooms that people make their homes. Maybe even a rat that just isn't quite the size you'd expect. It's your job to find a way to make these players think this added element does exist. Today's added element is an object of peculiar portion. Find a way to add something that doesn't come out as the size most people would expect. That is your added element. Find a way to fit this into your one-shot. With that, you can go and continue work for the next 20 minutes or so, and good luck.
I was very tempted to make the joke. Now, remember, the thing of unusual size should not be your adventure, or else you'll be here for 7 years.
Well, you know, we've had the contestants try to make entire campaigns before, so.
It's fine.
No, I think I love this whole premise. It's just, if you are figuring it out now, I think you'll know where the twist is gonna lie. But I'm excited to see what they did, because I feel of the two, I think Luca has a bit more options for an unexpectedly large creature. But at the same time, I think Phzoul's alien artifact idea could also lend itself to some interesting growth or shrinkage scenarios. Maybe shrinking the brave salvagers down, and they have to run through this small ship back there as they're hounded by, you know, alien rats and sort of things, you know.
That could be very, very
Mm.
cool.
Something tells me they'll both go for something of very large size, because it just seems to fit in both of their vibes.
This
but
is true. This is very true.
It is a little bit more wondrous a lot of times too, the larger size things, but you can definitely get like something weird out of something you expect to be big, and all of a sudden, I'm thinking maybe with like Phzoul's, or actually even work with like Luca's, of like a sun that's, you know, the size of your hand could be something that's incredibly powerful or interesting to see, and it'd be something that would be surprising and interesting, as, you know, seeing a tiny black hole or a tiny, you know, these massive stellar objects being shrunk down. It'd be really cool to like play off of something like that.
are you crazy? Do you know the price of tiny atoms?
Or like I mean, think of like Men in Black, you know, the Orion's belt. You know, like that's a classic example of something that's supposed to be really big. They even talk about it in that movie so much, of like, what do you mean the galaxy is on the belt? It's, you know, galaxies are way too big to fit on like that space, and you know, it's a really interesting way to like play off of that.
I think there's plenty of room. I mean, you could even go for the comedic effect. I think a lot of people expect in, you know, space to have this incredibly large, consuming thing. You know, the astral devourers for 5e kind of thing. But you know, shrink them down, make them cute. Why not? Just an astral devourer. Oh my God, they're on screen. It's very far away because it never gets bigger. It's just on.
I mean, yeah, you can play some of the other ways with like you brought up the Adventure Zone before. They had one where they had to fight tardigrades that were blown up in size. It's something that you would expect to be small, all of a sudden is the same size as you. Those things look terrifying.
Oh God, so yeah.
Oh, but they're so cute. They got little hands.
They also look a little cute, I guess.
They got little hands. They got just have a bunch of little fingers to hold your hands.
Excuse me, we're not gonna blaspheme water bears on this show. Though speaking of fighting tardigrades, I've noticed that both of our contestants have yet to really get into the ideas behind the social and combat aspects yet. I'm sure there will be something, because there's always a big climactic combat scene, at least in Luca's shows. I know that Phzoul is pretty good at having kind of like good social encounters, even if there's no like giant monster battle. And so I'm interested to see who will be the first one to like get into those elements, because those are things that we are supposed to judge on. So we'll have to see if there is anything that comes about because of the things of unusual size. Will you be fighting against a Goliath? Will you be fighting against something miniature, or will you be tiny trying to fight something normal sized? How will that affect how you interact with each other, that kind of stuff? So
I have a theory that both of our contestants, either having practiced before or having an extreme amount of fear of getting their whole entire adventure thrown about by an extra ingredient, are holding back on setting anything too deeply into stone in regards to actual statistics. That we're going to see a lot of work done in regards to actual combat / social encounters in the third half here.
Though we now can see which dimension Luca has taken.
Oh?
We have a skull of the dead god Sanctum, which is a pretty rad image by Cancer Ozergen. Which, I mean, as I said in the very beginning, I want to see some giant gods floating in space. So I'm happy with this.
That's very convenient for the Astral Sea. That is literally what it is. No.
Too. Oh, it looks like we have the ship as well, maybe.
Do we have a...
Mission.
Ooh, good name.
Very much looks like a normal like seafaring ship. So.
Oh
no, it is an astral. It's the astral seafaring ship. Yep.
I'd say you have a point, but you know it's a 3-mast ship, and that looks like it's sailing on Nebula, and it's entirely too large of a prow for standard naval combat. So.
I mean, just look at the Sisterhood Behind Space image. You'll see that their ship is a real like sailing ship.
It's the Spelljammer style.
Yeah, it's keying into the basic idea that space is sea. Like, we've always entertained it. I think, you know.
You know, at this point, I'm now just sitting here being like, okay, but if I ran Derelictric 3, what would I do? And so I'm suddenly realizing that like I could definitely do. I was terrified to do this kind of thing in the
Moon's haunted.
future, but maybe who knows?
Moon's haunted.
The moon
Are you
is haunted.
saying we're up for a special secret version of Iron DM where we have the judges compete?
I think we might like have to at some point.
Hasn't that
Someone
always
will demand it.
been the plan? Is if someone can't show up, we just with one of us.
I'm just now the contestant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think it'd be really fun because in a lot of ways, I think Derelictric hones in on transportational technology in its infancy. The steam engine is an early stage of a far more effective bullet train, so that delay and feeling of like everything's we're kind of vaguely hoping everything works.
That's the thing is
yeah.
that like if I were to do this in the Ghost Lines theme, like what would be the very initial form of a spaceship in that? But yeah, anyway,
It's shuttles. I mean, just look at the Apollo mission. I mean, as much as in the ad they want to say no.
Train that launches into space and really like dig into my like 10-year-old Nick brain. It's lovely. Let's see what Phzoul has gotten up to, if he's added anything.
It's
very much not.
searching the
There's a
vessel.
lot more to the adventure notes, it looks like now.
Yeah.
He's got some added pieces to it. It looks like he's picked out his unusual proportion. Oh, he went with a very different idea than what we said. I like this though. Time dilation. It is a different dimension in which the proportion has been changed. I think that's a very interesting idea. It looks like he's doing the alien, the artifact that he had described before might be a black hole anomaly. Making some time dilation. That's an interesting way of taking unusual proportion. Not in the sense that we had thought. I kind of like this though, because it's very, the way time's proportioned out would be different in there.
What I'm getting a gist of is what I think we're walking Phzoul up to here. Is he's made a way for the characters to naturally want to head within the field of outside at times rapidly speeding up. And so as you if you're within it, just there, you're gonna, obviously start aging or something, getting really hungry, thirsty, tired. And then once you're in, it'll just hold. So you have a natural way for your players to kind of want to like, oh shit, move from here to here, or back out and try to figure out what's going on. And then what we're seeing in the cargo hold, I think it's just a single line, but I would love to see him build on this, is the object is obviously not human and holds a strange fascination when one stares into the void. I am getting the subtle but lovely flavors of a PvP endgame situation where someone is turned into the true monster, or we get kind of a oh gosh, what was the name of the movie? We don't need eyes where we're going. I'll think of it later, probably tomorrow. But kind of like the alien artifact turns everyone against each other through fascination or repulsion, and we get ourselves a nice little standoff in space to see what you do with this strange new artifact that leads you to the similar phase of the last crew.
I think this is interesting because it means that this is what I was saying. This is a little bit of the social bit. He specifically has stated that the relation field only covers the back 80%. So if someone goes into the back of the ship to fix something, the people in the front of the ship are there waiting, 3 days for them to do something. And do your players sit at the front of the ship and wait for them? Or do they like venture in outside them? Is if they're sitting in the ship and they're spending an hour here, does that mean that 12 years have passed back outside? Does that mean someone else comes and tries to search the derelict vessel? And there's just like so many ways a GM could take that one little tiny mechanic and like mess with his players royally.
For sure, yeah.
Especially if it means that like you need to split up the party, which I know people hate and I as a GM love. So I would be so into that.
I'm really excited to see where this goes. I like the use of the. I think I said it before already, but I like the use of taking that that ingredient, and finding a way that we didn't intend it to be used, but it fits so well. Yeah, the whole story looks very good. I'm gonna go take a look over.
What?
'Cause it looks like Luca's added some more.
If we're going to take a look over at Luca, I think we should immediately call it the fact that if we're looking at terms of handoff ability, Luca is either going to link the things into it, but the way she's setting up her notes is that keeping it a little loose right now for terms of details, but the making notes to the DM kind of, if you were to grab a one-shot off the shelves, roll an astral planes encounters table, see effects list of a dead god skull, kind of setting this up as if writing a one-shot adventure for like a DM's Guild situation, which I think is really great. I think that's a fantastic way to ensure that this is something that could very easily be passed off. It's just like, okay, go do this. Here's the table for the encounter, flavored as you like. Here's some, going into more detail later, of course, can help. But at the moment, this is like, hey, here's where you're going. Here's what happens. Here's some general notes.
Thank you. No.
Ooh, we also have this lovely swarm of cruelty. Oh, I would love it. It's got big bug energy, which, could be very handy. I love me some big bug swarms. And are we gonna go chat with Luca?
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes yet, unless we want to start earlier. We were going to start with Phzoul first this time, I think, because we did him second last time. If that works. But do we want to give him a 2-minute warning in case it takes a little?
We can certainly try.
Or did the handout work well enough? Oh no, he looks like he sent us a ping telling
Yeah.
us.
Oh, so why don't we?
You want to just call him in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you phrased that very lightly. If you want to join us, Phzoul.
Did I do that worse? Sorry, that was more of just a criticism
No,
of
he's
how you told us to join.
Please join us now. Yeah, thank you. As per my last email.
See how that's working.
Well, let's hope that's quick.
And this is why we do it 2 minutes early, because then he'll have 2 minutes
Can you
to.
guys hear me?
Oh yes, okay, all right,
Yeah,
perfect.
here, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You're all good. You're all good. All right. Yeah. So it looks like you took a very interesting approach to this unusual proportion. I'm liking what I see. So why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah. So so I had the idea of an alien artifact on the ship. I was thinking a bit of Cthulhu vibes when you threw out interesting proportions. That kind of initially threw me for a loop, because I was like, I really don't know what to do with that. And then I was like, well, what about time? So time is a great, it's a measurement, something you can measure. So I'm trying to do something with time that when they're on the ship, time is moving at a different rate than the outside universe. So that's, actually now that I think about it, I think when during the character creation phase, what I want them to do is actually have a character background, like as in, what's your life when you're not doing salvage? Because I'll want to bring that, once they realize that the time dilation is happening, I want them to have something to fall back on to go, oh geez, I have kids, or I have a wife. Like it's funny. I was in.
You had a wife.
I had a wife. Yeah. Well, I want to make it so that it's kind of like. Do you remember remember the Star Trek episode Guardian of Forever, where they had to watch the flashing images and they had to jump through at the exact moment and cross their fingers? I want to do something like that at the end to give them a chance, but they could end up thousands of years in the past, hundreds of years in the future. We'll see what happens. I'm still trying to figure that out in my mind. I'm worried.
I was gonna say, you have a bit in here you've just added recently about the fact that the entire lifespan of the universe passes within hours, which is a hell of a choice.
Well, I'll tell you, I initially went with, okay, well, for every hour that passes in the ship, it's a year. But I really wanted this to be impactful, and one of the things that's always fascinated me about biblical references is before creation there was this void, before the Big Bang. What was there? Well, in this universe, before the Big Bang, there was this thing in the void. It's kind of like a elder god or whatever from Cthulhu, and the reality is it wants to reset things to the void. So it's kind of the evil's mindset, and I just like the idea of them coming to the end of time and starting over again in this loop, which means that it's possible. I don't know how I would manage this. Well, I have it so that the survivor on the ship is one of the characters. So it's possible that I can't have this loop go too fast, otherwise the new characters and a new ship will be arriving all the time. But so it has to be long enough that the GM can manage that. But anyway, that's kind of my mindset. I'm still trying to put the pieces together, but
That's really fun.
Do you think you
look like it's gonna be real neat. Go ahead, Robert.
do you think you have everything you need to get high points in all of our categories? Is there anything you're worried about as we approach the last half or last part of this?
Mind you here. Let's see. So I probably need to put in some combat. That will so I haven't done anything on that yet. Other than that, I mean, I'm hoping exploration's covered. The social aspect, I think encountering yourself, some of the dialogue around, just the conversation with the characters should be interesting as revelations occur. In terms of the ingredients, I think I've got those covered. Handouts and notes, I don't typically do handouts per se, like here's a reveal to the players, so I might be a little short on that, maybe.
Well,
I think you have a lot of great ones with your images just to evoke emotion, that kind of stuff, like you do with character images and that kind of stuff.
Handouts and notes is also like level of completion. Like, do you think you're going to be able to get to the end of a story even if it's not fully fleshed out yet?
Can this be articulated in my notes? Because time is something that really it's something that can really trip you up. My main concern is, can I get my notes to a state where a GM can read it and understand what I'm trying to do?
Yep. So even if you get a little bit on the page, just enough to be like, and then you can explain it as we talk through your one shot. Yeah, that's cool. But we want to see, can you get to the end of it and create something that's has a beginning, middle, and end. Yeah, I think you'll be great though. Don't worry.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Well, we're gonna respect your time. You got about 5 more minutes till we'll give you the final twist, and we'll call you back in, and then we'll go talk with Luca for now. So thank you and good luck.
Thanks.
Let's go see what Luca's up to. Hello.
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 All right.
Tell me about the swarm, please.
The swarm of cruelty speaks with 1,000 voices, and very much would like to devour you.
Hello there, Neil Gaiman.
So they have kind of taken up residence on this skull of this dead god, Sanctum. And they know where a stone is that you need, that they claim will help you solve these gloom rifts, heal them. Do you guys want me to tell you the whole thing?
Not.
You have to.
You can tell us. You can just tell. You're gonna have a chance to walk us through everything later. Just
Okay.
Tell us
What's
what
the
you're
interesting part you're working on?
Yeah.
So the big thing right now is working in the second ingredient, which I don't know if you can see it. It's there. It's the egg of devotion.
Oh, that's your unusual proportion. Okay.
That's a big egg.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really tell there, but that's a big egg.
I assumed the skull of a dead god was your giant thing.
Oh, but gods are giant.
No,
They're supposed to be giant.
Those
That
are
makes sense. That makes
everywhere.
sense.
Yeah.
Eggs are supposed
That's
to be
valid.
small so you can make an omelet.
Unless you're
A hell
making
of an omelet.
unless you're making the mother of all omelets here.
Well, we'll see.
I'll
That's
ask
what your
the
players
same.
don't want to do.
I'll ask the same question I asked Phzoul. How you thinking on all of the criteria for judging? Do you think you got everything you need?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I've got exploration. It's not done yet. However, I don't know if you can see in here, but I would like to have an astral plane encounter table because you are going to be sailing your ship from Zeter to where you need to go. So obviously you're going to come across things. And it's the astral sea full of dreams of dead gods and Gith and all sorts of things. So there's endless opportunities to come across fun things in your journey just to get to the main quest. And then as far as exploration and social, once you actually get to Sanctum's Skull, it can be kind of a weird experience to walk around on the skull of a dead god. So there are a lot of effects. Some of them can manifest in ways that would be more RP related, and some of them can manifest in more physical kind of ways. So that can always end up a lot of fun.
So they won't find preservation of the skull, they'll only find ruin.
Possibly.
You scared for the third ingredient?
Yeah, mostly just from a concept with time is the really big scary part here, because it's and I have to work in another thing, and I've got to do all this, and this.
You do have more time in the last zone because we don't have our interviews directly a little bit, so you just have 20 straight minutes. So
Okay. All right.
You're doing a very good job so far.
Thank
Keep
you.
at it.
All right. Bye.
all right, well, not bye yet. So
Okay.
You can't get away from this, easy.
Can I please start typing again?
well, it's about time for that ingredient actually.
Oh, okay.
It's the way it works.
You can type up until Phzoul joins us.
Watch me try and talk and type at the same time. That'll be real ugly. No, that won't happen.
Just full on Jim Carrey. Just
no, that won't happen at all.
I'm here.
All right.
All right then, it is time for our final element, the TPK twist. Feed me. That's it. It's just feed me. You can take that in any way you want. If you want to take it as the little shot before is feed me, if you want it to just be something that's hungry. Your final element is the quote, feed me. Use however you wish.
Okay.
Good luck.
Someone check on Sir Hekala.
someone check on Kohlrabi, really.
True.
But okay.
Gotta get the command in there first, just so
We have a feed me command.
Of course we have a feed me command. Why wouldn't we?
I'm gonna need to include that in my next game, I guess.
That hurts.
TPK classic with the feed me reference. But yeah, I'm kind of excited where they go with this. Might be a little bit hard to get a talking plant into these 2 one-shots, but it's definitely possible.
To be fair, Phzoul does have a giant void creature that he's trying to get in there, so I'm sure he'll find a good way to do that. But yeah, Luca definitely has a bit of a harder sell there.
I was wondering if she might end up going with the swarm of cruelty. They may be hungry, and that's how you get the information out of them. So
Do you feed them in cruelty? Because that'd be one hell of a social encounter.
That really would. Like, you just have to be rude to them, and then
It's gonna be real mean to my fellow teammates.
Just the mind games that would be. Chef's kiss.
That would
Oh,
certainly
he
be fun.
already has some. Phzoul already has something in there.
oh,
Yep. He has in bold text. He has an exclamation from one of his characters.
Ooh. All right. Well, we'll let him say that because I like the way he does the booby voice thing. He does a very good booby voice thing. You know what I mean?
ooh, he really does. He's a good master of just like improving, like impressions, almost maybe would be the way to say it.
His stormtrooper though, when he can just talk to a cup and it does the whole radio thing where I'm not even gonna get them over there. You know, it's like
It's always a good call when he pulls up his mug for that.
when he gets the mug, you're like, oh, it's gonna get serious. No, but I'm really excited. I think Luca obviously is in a stronger position to just continue on with her idea, and it gives her the most amount of time. I feel like Phzoul's got a really quick turnaround into incorporating the quote. I'll be interested to see what he does with it though, because I mean, if it's just a line to say, that's one thing. But if it actually has a impact on the game and something that the players will have to interact with, maybe like if a previous version of themselves appears, they have to like in some way make sure there's only one of them at the end of this, like, you know, kind of the
for
idea,
sure.
like that could
The
be
cyclical
interesting.
time loop.
Mm-hmm. If it's a black hole, eventually everything goes through. It's like going through a big strainer. There can only be one thing at the end, so the strongest one. You know, kind of a Highlander situation. But you know, I'd be interested to see if Luca does anything else in regards to consumption and pleasing something to eat with. I feel like, you know, she already set her up for success, though, herself up for success, and kind of like nailed it before even coming to it. So you know, maybe there's a large plant, maybe there's a regular sized plant and a very large object, and they're both falling from the sky or something. I don't know. There's certainly not an undergoing theme here. But I feel like there's a lot of options here, a lot of you know, because
I do feel a little bad that like Luca went with their thing of unusual size was a giant egg, aka the one thing that like doesn't have a mouth, and so
I don't know what kind of eggs you're looking at.
so like she like might be like, oh god, what have I done?
Maybe
Or
it
she could
hatches.
say, yeah, I was gonna say it could
That's-
very easily hatch.
It's Chekhov's egg, you know. You put the egg in the first egg, it's got to hatch before the end, right? That's what they say.
Something like that. She has more pretty pictures of weapons and things.
Ooh.
I mean, to be fair, Luca will like. I think at this point, Luca is like dominating on the handout section
Yeah,
because she's just like, this got it done. This got it done. I mean, I know for a fact she has a hard drive like with all of her images like tagged in certain ways that you can search them up, and like she has like got the like
the
endless
handout
stream
queen
of
over here.
handouts available at any moment.
I was
would
gonna
definitely get low marks on handouts because I'd just be like, just fucking imagine it. It's fine. It's just you know, use your brain skull.
use your imagination. Just go for it. Come on, don't be lazy.
Or even worse, I'd be like, you tell me what it looks like because I'm that DM.
There's plenty of fun in describing it, though it does make it a little bit harder to hand off.
Definitely. So, or you just tell the DM to ask your players to do it. Mwahaha.
There's
I don't have to write
yeah,
anything.
There's ask your players what's happening in this adventure, and then just do that. Pencil
I
drop.
would
You
get
sit
top
there.
marks, I'm sure.
You sit there and enjoy a nice dinner for the rest of the session. Go cook something and then bring it back. Like, what'd you make? Well, I made this cornbread, and here's an improv scene that you could spin into a 2-hour adventure.
Right.
We have seen Phzoul was mentioning that he wanted to add something in the very beginning about how your character are created, and I do love that he the way he puts it as 2 to 3 lines about their life when not I thought it was said worth salvaging, which would have been cute, but so when not salvaging, he's included that at the very beginning of his notes about like what is the like character backstory, like
Who's the person
what
bringing them into life?
why is this important to you? Which as a GM, I'm like, yep.
So
Please.
it's interesting as much as we're talking about handouts and how they both kind of defined themselves by one system. Phzoul's premise, at the very least, and the way he's kind of guiding his players without having set any specific statistics, rather. I could see this working in a Dread version as well. Just
That
with
would be very cool.
Yeah, give us a light description of your character, let us know some phobias, and then let's play Jenga, except with higher
Is there a space
stakes.
version of Jenga? Is there like
Space
Jenga
there-
tiles?
Space Jenga tiles? I don't know, but Space Dread? Oh, certainly. It's terrible if you don't like bugs and or infestational horror. So, yeah.
You can get Space Invaders Jenga, which
Ooh.
actually looks unbelievably cute.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting to play that with like that. It's definitely he's going for like a horror game type of vibe, which I think the from what we've seen, I've seen of it at least, the one-shot RPG system is very good at. So I think it'll be good with that too. But yeah, I think Dread would definitely be a cool different one that system might work well with.
It's more speaking to his establishing of the setting and the table's relationships to each other, rather than anything specifically that he's written later on. Purely looking at the beginning and the general premise, I'm just seeing this could definitely be a Dread scenario, and I think more people should play Dread. I'm not sponsored, I swear. I just think more people should use Jenga tiles in their game, because what a fascinating concept.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to do those online now.
Of course. But you know,
when you can, it could be exciting.
Okay, this is just Turk yelling at me that he wants to play Dread with me because we live in the same city. So...
Look, if you want to, we could just... I have so many. I have literally a game right here called The Wretched, and it's a single-player journaling RPG. I also have another one called The Assassin, but it's all by the same creator, and they do a wonderful job of making you stare endlessly at a slightly leaning Jenga tower and just really feeling terrible, like I might die, but I also might live, and that's equally good.
I was gonna say something. Oh well, I guess the first episode we did of this, I did ask the players like, how would you feel if this were in a different setting, if this were in a different TTRPG? Like, do you think it would transfer? I think that's a good question to ask in this one for sure, especially because we're in a territory that's not traditional D&D, and as you said, like the kind of general vibe we're getting from Phzoul could make it easier to transition from one system to another. So it might be an interesting thing to ask our players.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, Chad, if you have any questions, feel free to suggest some things.
Yeah. Why do we have a feed me command? Like Proper said, we're hungry. And also, feed me is fun to say.
I haven't had food in a whole hour and a half, and that's a problem. So,
well, the good news is we are approaching the 10-minute mark, which means we will have a break after our contestants do finish their work here. But also that timeline's really pressing down on them now. There's not too much more left.
I'm getting a little worried. I will say this. I think Phzoul's got a lot of really good... Okay, so Phzoul's getting some actual dice rolls down here. I'm a little concerned that he's going to be left with an overview more than like a handoff system. But the spaceship is gone from his page. Where, you know, Luca as well has this treasure and handouts, but I'd like to hear about them as well. You know, I think the premonition, the egg of devotion. I think it's there.
We've got a Phzoul title, so that counts.
Goodness.
Oh, it's a classic! It's a classic.
Be brought back to 6 feet from hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a terror of you mentioning it.
Mm-hmm. I think as it stands, I fully trust both of these DMs. I think Luca even herself has noted it at the beginning of this. I trust both of these DMs to be able to run these one-shots. I will be interested to see how confident they feel in handing it off and, like Proper said, translating it even to another system. It's going to be a different look, and this is just kind of one of the perils of this format, is that you really are in a time crunch, and sometimes it's easier to just get something up rather than have nothing and have to explain to us later on.
We are just under 10 minutes, Ashen Rabbit, so we're getting close to the wire.
That wire is deadly close.
Speaking of close to the wire, Purple, do you have anything that you are, either concerned or you think might be missing that you are looking for?
Yeah, I don't know right now. I'm gonna have to. I definitely don't think about the judging until I'm doing it. So maybe I should be doing more of that.
I mean,
I'm
I
hearing
have
it, but
ridiculous notes written on the back of CVS bags, and I'm just like noting things down wherever I see them.
Yeah, I so far I'd say the biggest thing I've seen is maybe I think there's a big gap in social right now. I haven't seen any encounters really listed down that are clearly social talking ones as much. Maybe what Luke was talking about with the swarm of cruelty of talking with them, but I don't know how. It doesn't sound like that would usually go well. But
I mean, I think it's definitely something that would do well to be a social encounter.
Yeah, for sure.
But I see what you mean.
But yeah, so I don't know. Just I feel like they have really good so far. The exploration, the narrative. I think both of them. They seem to have a good idea of what's around, what's the setting, where they can go, what is allowed of places they can explore, and that kind of stuff. And their narrative of what the pathway is and what the story's going to be. Obviously, the style it's kind of up in the air for all of us, but I'm digging both of the styles right now. Pretty good use of ingredients as well, so I'm kind of excited to see where it finally wraps up and all the little pieces tie in. But definitely right now, social and combat are looking like the low spots for me, from what I've seen. What are your thoughts?
I just wonder for it to have fun, but like I don't know. I'm not seeing a lot of maps, and I mean like theater of mind is fun, but like give me something to look at rather than the blank Roll20 screen as well. I mean playing it on a table is one thing, but no.
We have a single image on the map.
Oh, Luke is adding an image on the map. Like I just heard you. Descended from a god.
Can she hear me?
A space void in the background now.
Who knows? I mean, Luca could just be listening in the entire time. I don't know if it's cheating, but it might be.
I feel like that's up to moral interpretation.
Oh goodness!
Oh,
have you looked on
yes.
Phzoul's page? He's actually got several maps. They're clearly listening.
Whoa!
I think we need to call. There'll be a cheating review later.
NPC repository. We got cargo holds. The crack
deck levels. He's found he maybe was spending some time searching for these and dug them up. But
no wonder that
I thoroughly enjoy that
this is where the time's been going.
He has an image that's just like off center, tilted one direction, so that it's the right way around, sticking off the edges of the page.
He's breaking apart one of the images to show how it's broken. Oh,
crap.
This is cool.
Okay,
is this a puzzle?
He is suddenly.
Wait a minute.
I don't think so.
Where did he come from? What a last-minute addition!
Oh, he's also got his list of NPCs up on the bottom. If you see that, images for him. Ooh.
He has been really good with getting those images generated. He could have been working on this while speaking to us. Get those Wayland Yutani stickers on. Somebody call Meg Mysteria. Let us know which of these characters is which.
Hello, Captain Lee Vance. Hello. What? Who said that?
Wow.
You don't just need food. You need some water, boy.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I'm shocked that we don't have some random hot NPCs from Luca, because that's usually her MO. But
it's the sisterhood.
We still have 5 minutes.
So it's the sisterhood. They're all assumed hot.
Valid. Very valid.
That's a good point. I need to let him know there's 5 minutes.
Though, gosh, it's so strange that the Sisterhood Beyond Space is so solidly a 5e thing, when I feel they so naturally slot into a Starfinder scenario, you know?
Sure, for sure, yeah.
I feel like it's just a missed opportunity by Wizards of the Coast to not be ending my sentence there. But, you know, at the same time, I think it's a really good opportunity for those who are big fans of the Pathfinder or Starfinder system or haven't had a chance to check those out to maybe pitch some ideas. It's a very open and welcoming community over there that just can really run a lot of stuff. I mean, we saw with the one-shot that Foxy ran, I think 2 of the characters had the same class and they were doing drastically different things. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting thing when you look over at like Starfinder and Pathfinder. They're very close systems, but very different enough that you are played one, you can usually switch over to the other, even though there's vastly different things. It's a nice, interesting way that you have your space version versus your normal version, and it has its distinctions. But they're close enough that once you're in the family, you can kind of swap through them.
I will say, if someone can throw together a Pathfinder one-shot in an hour, I will be massively impressed. Because while it's wonderful for its flavor, it is tough with its mechanics. The Pathfinder I've played, I would dread running it. I would just say that it is a very dense game. There's a lot going on there, but it can be very enjoyable. And sometimes that denseness, you know, like a fine cuisine, it adds a different texture. If I can relate our show back to...
You wait until 58 minutes in to make another food pun? Jeez, I'm pro.
I waited 2 episodes and 58 minutes to make my first relate back to the original show.
It's a callback. Luca's gotten through all 5 of her scenes.
Oh, excellent news, especially as we're coming to the close here. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be real tight, everybody. Is it enough, though? I mean...
we don't have the hot NPC, but we do have an absolutely gorgeous dragon, so I think that counts, Luca.
Star Dragon. Well, you know, people are into that. Star Dragon. Yeah, no, definitely. Big Stellaris energy, honestly, coming from this giant egg in space that hatches a dragon. That's a good. But, you know, what we like, yeah, what you said, we like hot NPCs to make up for in super dope dragons and super neat bug people. So, you know, I think just hearing them both fully explained is going to be massively beneficial because we're only able to really speculate into what they're doing here. And
you know what? I feel like Lucas
we're at
might
1 minute, by the way.
Lucas might work really well in what is it? Into the Odd? What is that game called?
Don't remember that, but no, Into the Odd is an RPG.
But it's Bastionlands.
Electric Bastionlands with how god.
Sorry,
sure.
That's what it's called. It's Electric Bastionland. Into the Odd is like the subtitle. Sorry, yeah. For some reason, I was looking at the swarm and just thinking that would fit nicely.
All right, we're on.
Could it pass the Moss test?
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and we're gonna call time there. I can't stop the clock.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh my god.
Knives down, chefs.
Knives down. We're getting Phzoul. Gotta cut off his time.
Oh, he's typing something.
He's typing.
Yes. Sorry, I'm capitalizing a lot of my letters, and I don't mean to sound mean, but yes.
You have caps on. It's fine.
My caps lock is stuck, so I sound really aggressive.
I'm here.
All right.
Heyo.
congratulations, you finished your time. I hope you're ready to show off your work, but we are going to take a quick break first just to give you guys some time to relax after a stressful 1 hour of making an amazing one-shot that I think we're all excited to see. So with that, everyone, please stick around, take about 5-10 minute break, and then we'll come back and have these two GMs walk us through what they've created for us today. So we'll see you soon.
Great, thank you.
Welcome back to Iron GM here, where our contestants have just wrapped up an hour of making an amazing one-shot for us to view. And without too much more waiting, Phzoul, we're going to start off with you if you'd like to walk us through what you've created for us today so that we can see it all in its glory and hear about it.
Awesome.
We're waiting. Take it away.
Thank you. Purple, thank you for giving me the name of my adventure because you mentioned in your intro 55 Below Zero and 6 Feet from Hell. So I figured I would name this. I decided to fall back on horror because that's one of my go-tos. So this adventure is called 200 Light Years from Earth and 6 Feet from Hell. So the setup is that the characters are basically crew members on board a deep space salvage tug. So just to lay the kind of what is the universe like for what is the universe like for the players, essentially mankind has been traveling the stars for hundreds of years, but the first 100 years, if things went wrong, if you were out in deep space and things went wrong, there was no SOS, there was no rescue team, you basically were out of luck. So for the first 100 years, you have this collection of wrecks that essentially are missing ships and lost ships. So now we are in the age where space travel is much more economical and faster. And so the characters work for a company, I just called it Late Rescue Salvage. They basically comb through old historical documents and find where a ship went missing and go and look for it. So that's kind of the premise. The other thing that's really important about this adventure is the character creation. And so one of the things I put in the notes, I'm not sure if you can see the notes there, but I can just read them, is that it's not just creating, oh, I'm a mechanic or I'm a security person or I'm a pilot or a medic. I want characters to come with some background hooks, and those hooks are basically revolve around this idea. When you go out on these missions, what is the one thing that you look forward to when you get back from a job? Is that a family? It's funny, I've noticed in TTRPGs, most people make characters who are lone wolves, right? They don't have family, they don't have kids. I would want to change that up in this adventure. I want people to have something outside of the career and the ship and the adventure. So having them come up with that is great because that's going to be something which they could potentially lose. So one of the things I did in roll 20, so Turk, if you want to go to the NPC repository, I created some NPCs. Again, you guys threw me for a bit of a loop. I was planning on a 1930s pulp adventure, and suddenly the spaceship, I went sci-fi. So I had to pull some images from my aliens. I have an aliens folder, so I just grabbed some random ones. This is not aliens, wouldn't be, it might be set in a similar universe. So here's some NPCs that you could use. The great thing about NPCs, of course, it just allows the GM to have a voice in the adventure. The other thing which I have, if you want to go, so I have a picture of the derelict itself. There might be some scans that they do as they approach. They might sense some odd energy fluctuations. They might note that the front 20% of the ship, the hull appears to be degraded. And then I just have deck plans. So, Turk, if you want to cycle through, just deck plan 1. I didn't get into, I mean, there's some descriptions here. I just pulled these off of Google. Essentially, there's room descriptions. It's really up to the GM to just on their own to kind of flesh it out. One of the things that's important, however, is that as the GM is doing this, they should try and increase the tension. So, for example, the characters are going to be discovering some things, just some clues. So, for example, there are signs of violence on the ship. So there might be spots where there's blood stains. No bodies. The ship has been sabotaged. So the engines have been intentionally sabotaged. There's still power to power life support and stuff like that, but this ship is not going anywhere on its own. So you kind of have this kind of exploration phase. And I was so there is a little bit of a catch here, which I'll reveal right now, is that as soon as the characters enter this kind of this invisible bubble around the ship, they enter a zone of time dilation, and that's where I was using your ingredient objects of a peculiar portion. So essentially, as soon as they step foot on the ship, time is kind of at a standstill, while the outside universe is going by at an incredibly fast speed. I was toying with what was the ratio, and I decided to go with essentially the entire history of the entire universe ends and begins again and again while they're on the ship. So if that might be, you might demonstrate that by they're in the ship, they're walking by a portal, suddenly there's a huge flash, and that's the Big Bang, right? And then all of a sudden there's a period of, there might be, the universe goes by a period of darkness, but the whole idea is that time is passing them by. You can, so when you think about those backgrounds that I gave at the beginning, essentially those are things that when people realize that time is going quickly, from a role-playing perspective, they can draw upon those backgrounds and think about, again, what were they looking forward to when they get home? Well, they may never see that again because home is no longer there. So here's one of the twists. There is a survivor on the ship, so this survivor is very paranoid, very cautious, trying to hide, trying to figure out the character's intentions, and the survivor is, they've been through an incredibly traumatic experience. As it turns out, the survivor is going to be one of the players. So they're actually going to encounter themselves. So I'd probably GM just roll randomly or maybe pick based on which one they think might be the most interesting. But the reality is when this survivor is finally caught or revealed, it's one of themselves. The other thing that I'll note is as they search the ship, if you want to go to the cargo hold.
Sure thing.
They will find this device. It's a sphere. It's an alien device. It's a source of the anomalous readings. The back of it is actually going to be cracked. So for the front of it, it looks whole. For the back of it, it's cracked. So they'll see that inside the device is nothing. It's a void. So basically, the survivor is going to basically tell the tale. And essentially, the story goes like this. This is actually an alien artifact. Inside it, its purpose is unknown, and I'm not really going to reveal. It's kind of left to the imagination of the characters. But whoever salvaged it tried to open it, and when they open it, they release this time dilation effect. And whenever the time dilation reaches the period of the universe, which is the void, so the period between the end of the universe loop, there's a void before the Big Bang. There is an entity that exists. It's kind of a Lovecraftian, elder god type thing. And it wants to return the universe to the void in which it was. So during that period, this entity can actually extend itself out into the ship, basically tentacles, and it can take over people. If they, for example, get attacked by a tentacle and it's able to, they fail their save or whatever, the entity will take over to them. And the Phoebe line, I mean, this is a bit of a cop-out, but essentially the entity's philosophy is feed me with everything you were, everything that you are, and everything that you will be. And the entity's one goal, so this ship doesn't move, its goal is to escape, get the device, get its kind of possessed servants to get the device onto the character ship so that it can roam out into the universe. The survivor wants to stop that at all costs. So what the characters will learn is that the survivor actually killed the other characters in the previous iteration that they arrived here. So basically, you've got this kind of villain. You got the survivor kind of in the middle, and then the characters trying to piece together the puzzle and come up with a solution. The solution is to actually reseal the device, to repair the device. So if you go to the, I called it the crack. If you go to that slide.
On it now, yeah.
You can see that essentially pieces of the device are going to be scattered around the ship. Maybe they're in a science lab. So it'd be up to the GM really to determine whether they're all in one piece or whether they want to send the characters on a scavenger hunt. But the reality is, so behind that, if I go back there, the reality is they're going to find all these pieces, and they actually do fit. Let me just close this down here. Sorry, I didn't have the layers correctly, but
No, you're
you
good.
can actually drag these pieces, and this one would go here. So basically, the idea is they have to fit these pieces together to reseal it. But every piece that they put in,
No, I can't let you do it.
the entity does not want to be sealed up, so tentacles will come out. So the finale is going to be a combination of trying to. So every time they try a piece, whether it's successful or not, a tentacle comes out, and the entity tries to basically kill or capture someone. They drive the tentacle off. They get another try. Essentially, it's this back and forth, trying to basically seal this up and seal the entity away.
It's a
Now,
really cool combination of like combat and puzzle. I know we saw it and I called out, I'm like, I think this is a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm so glad it is. I think that's such a cool thing to add in there. And I like how you added like this combat element to it. It's like
so here's the trick. When the last piece is sealed, the time dilation ends, and the ship and the sphere and everybody reappears in normal time, whatever point in time that is. So I'm going to allow the character. I'm assuming the character is going to have all kinds of advanced devices that can access to computers and PDAs, and they can AIs and algorithms. So I'm going to allow. So they're going to have this dilemma. One, they could just close at any time if they don't care about themselves. If they don't want to sacrifice themselves, they don't care where they're going to get lost in time. They can just seal it up. But one of the challenges that they would have is, I want to seal it up as close to my time as possible. So they have to survive until that part of the cycle is coming to. And I'm going to give the characters a role. So in the one-shot RPG system, you have a bonus. You have various skills, and those skills have a bonus. So let's say your technical is plus 20%. I'm going to say your time period is 50, right in the middle. You're going to roll percentile dice. Now that 20% is a window of expertise, and you can put that wherever you want. So you could go, I want to go 40 to 60. I want to go 45 to 65. I want to go 50 to 70. And when you're going to roll, if you get within that window that you chose, then you're going to arrive back approximately in the correct time period. However, if you roll outside of it, and it would basically be like for every 1 point you rolled outside of it, maybe you're 100 years or 50 years or whatever number you want to pick off in either direction. So it's not necessarily a happy ending, but the whole idea is to build, I want layers of tension. Tension from putting the puzzle together, tension from from the creature attacking, and tension from having to get the right time, otherwise we're going to win, but we'll lose type thing. So hopefully that makes sense. I tried to get as much as I could in the notes, but I feel like maybe if you were a new GM, this might be challenging the way I have it set up. But someone with some experience could take this, I think, and run with it and make it their own. So I don't know if you have any questions, or there's all kinds of little things that you could do during the exploration phase, including one of the examples that I had this idea, and I didn't really fully develop it. The front 20% of the ship is outside the time dilation sphere. So I thought, like as an example, like an NPC could walk onto the bridge, and they instantly grow old, die, turn to dust within seconds in front of the character's eyes, right? You could do some different things like that, but it's funny. Stephen King said, "Kill your darlings," and that might be something. For example, I might go, do I need it? Maybe not. I'll just leave it on the cutting room floor, so to speak. All right, probably a lot to digest. First of all, does that make sense? Did I understand? Did I explain it correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I got it.
Yeah, I got it. I'm just like, yeah.
Thinking of questions and that kind of stuff.
If I could jump in, I mean, you did mention that this is definitely something that requires a little more of a trained hand to get the players where they need to be in regards to tension and horror payoff, if we can call it that. The money shot of, oh gosh, the terrible thing is occurring. because you mentioned like a lot of Cthulhu vibes leading up to this, and I really dig it because I'm getting a very similar sense to a kind of Call of Cthulhu-ish session with the horror is not immediate. There might be something terrible that happens to you, like right out the gate, but like it's a build, and I think you've set it up so it can be a build. But
again, one of the things that I want to do, so I can think about the role-playing role-playing back and forth between the character and themselves, who is the NPC. Now the GM has to. Now I've had it so that the character has been through such trauma and is so unraveled that the GM doesn't have to worry about behaving exactly correctly because it isn't really the same person, right? But that NPC, their goal is to create the paranoia because that NPC is constantly on the lookout for the entity to take over these people who are that NPC doesn't see these people as rescuers. They're going, yeah, I went through this. This was me, and look where I ended up. This is just going to happen again. The entity's going to take you over one by one. You're going to try to escape, and I need to stop it. So I like to, using that NPC can help increase the paranoia.
I do have to say, I do appreciate how you've included a way to have a semi PvP encounter within the party without having them actually resort to it, and seeing this, I think there are certain party compositions where this will definitely kill. We're allowed to do cross show other judging shows, right? Okay, cool. But yeah, no. So like, but in regards to handing this off to say someone who's like, hey, I really like the horror genre. I've like been a big fan of your other work. Like, do you think you could reasonably package this up and put it on, and hand this off to someone completely new? Obviously, maybe not put it onto a drive-through RPG. It requires a lot more, finesse and packaging. But like, hi, I'm a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed GM, and I have a group of my friends, and we like horror movies, and we really like, all these scary, spooky space stuff, and a little bit of danger mystery things, and we might not know much about one-shot RPGs, but like, could you reasonably hand it off to them? I guess is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Are you assuming would I have actually a bit more time to?
They're coming up to you right now. As soon as you turn around, I'm behind your green screen. Like, hey, broke into your house. Give me a one shot.
I think you could run it, and I'll tell you there are some techniques that you can. So, for example, if I had more time during that searching phase in order to increase paranoia, I might have had a list of like a random table of events, like you hear a sound or something like that. But I'll tell you, there's a very good technique that I've learned that I use at my table in horror games. We created the skull die, and I've used it in some of my broadcasts. It actually came about. It's a die 6, and the 1 is replaced with a skull. So when we're really together, the skull die sits in the center of the table. So one of the things that you do through a horror session is like at random intervals every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you basically say, hey, roll the skull die. And you're just going around the table, and everybody knows that if the skull comes up, something bad happens to their character, right? So just rolling that, every time someone picks up that dice, it creates tension. And the fact that it's random and there's no like, oh, I can't think my way out of this. It's just going to be, oh, something bad's going to happen to me. I could just say, hey, use that, and the tension of rolling the dice might be enough, right?
Yeah, no, I was saying, I think this could be great as a dread scenario with the tension of a shared Jenga tower. Just with the, as soon as it knocks down, something bad has to happen, or someone could strategically sacrifice themselves to throw that last piece on. But oh no, now their character is controlled by the tentacle. I know you set this out, especially with the end bit. I really feel like, I'm not gonna get too far into the weeds here because I think like I should open up for questions for everyone else, of course. But like, you have a system here that you said, yes, this is the one-shot RPG system with the modern horror spin.
Yeah,
just
but
changed.
Really, you're right. You could use anything.
I feel like there's a lot of horror systems that are built around a similar rise in tension. That at the very least with your scenario you've described thus far. which while you kept mechanics light, does lend itself to a lot of translatability is the right word. But I've been talking entirely too much, so I'm gonna let my other judges cut in because hopefully I've gotten you enough time, Purple.
Oh, I have questions. I had questions
Good.
to be prepared this time.
Oh.
But Proper, do you wanna jump in, or you want me to? Oh, you're muted, Proper.
That's the void of space.
I'm all about
that means I
raising
should
the
go.
tension.
The stakes.
I was
might
gonna
higher.
ask. I say I love what you got here. I really love your theme and your style for this particular session. What is one thing you're really proud of that you created it? And if you had more time, what is one thing that you would like definitely want to redo?
Or add on, maybe.
So one of the things that I like about, so I'm all about twists. So one of my worries coming into this is that I would end up kind of doing almost like, oh, here's like a dungeon crawl style where essentially there's no moments where make the characters sit back. So here it's kind of like the survivor, who is one of the characters, the time dilation, the fact that there is an entity in the device, the fact that even when you say time dilation, the fact that it's the entirety of the universe going into a loop versus it just being like for every hour a year goes by or something like that. So I guess what I'm most proud about is that I was able, like that was an anxiety on my shoulders. So I was able to basically go, okay, I got enough twists that my reputation for twists would stay intact. What would I do differently? I think so. I think, if I had more time, I think I would flesh out the room, maybe do room descriptions, so that kind of searching. I might pick 3 or 4 events that increase tension and actually have them for the GM and have them placed around the ship. So that exploration phase, I would probably make that a lot deeper in terms of what I had.
I think that's the end of my questions. I'm good.
I guess I got 2. So you kind of went with this like Cthulhuian entity or whatever in the artifact. Was there any like inspiration that like specifically led you to that once you're spaceship and you kind of pick that out from, or like what led you to that choice? I think that's kind of interesting.
It's a fallback. So when you threw me, so essentially, so my initial idea was pulp 1930s. In the back of my mind, I had Search for the Spear of Destiny. So I was going all into that direction. And when you threw the spaceship at me and I had to go into sci-fi, so sci-fi, it's a genre which I'm interested in, but where is my comfort zone? It's horror, and if you look at a lot of my horror, it's Cthulhu. So really, I went to my comfort zone when you threw me for a loop.
That all makes sense. Cool. I just kind of was curious where if that's where it's coming from or something else.
Yeah, well, you know what? I love Aliens. I think Meg Mysteria does an Aliens game or on the show, and I love space that's like dark horror space alien style stuff. So I kind of wanted to go there. So that's where I went.
And then I have one other one, which is based off of the ingredients you got. Now, looking back at it, do you think you would have come up with the same thing if you had all 3 ingredients? Do you think you would have went down the same path, or do you think you would have done anything differently?
So the spaceship one, I probably would have ended up in the derelict spaceship anyway. As soon as you mentioned that like popped into my head within like seconds. For the other 2, you know what? When you first said objects of a peculiar proportion, I think in your description or something, I don't know, for some reason the fungus popped into my mind. I don't know what you meant.
Same brain.
So yeah, if I had known them ahead of time, I probably would have incorporated fungus somehow. Like the enemy would have been a fungus. I mean, I'm getting dangerously close to some tropes there maybe, but And the feed, yeah, that fits with the feed me, like the fungus, living fungus that wants to feed me or something like that. I probably would have went more in the monster, maybe the monster fungus direction. What was that? There was a green slime, a 1950s sci-fi movie or something.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have any other questions? Luca, feel free to pop in with questions if you do have them, by the way. You're included to ask.
I don't know if I have questions more so than like when do I like you said at some point we get to like talk about each other's stuff, so like
Oh, cool.
I'm just over here, planning when I can make someone to go into space and start like salvaging ships and come across this whole thing. That's what I'm doing right now in my mind.
That's always the question: is when can we expect this to go live?
But you know the ending, you know all the twists.
Of course, but I know the ending.
Yeah,
we
anytime.
played Altered Carbon. You had a whole different plan. The players always change everything.
That's the thing that I do like to leave this a little bit ambiguous, because as soon as you involve, I find the kind of the times science fiction, players can come up with their own ideas, and I know I for one have been sitting at a table, and the player has I figured it out, and what they've said is better than what I had, and I'm going with that, right?
See, Turk, you made fun of me, but telling your players to just describe the scene is...
I did not make fun of you. I insinuated that it would be a massive power move if you wrote down a base, like a concept for a really interesting improv situation for maybe 1 to 2 hours, and then went and actually just baked something. And came back
that's what I'm gonna do for our special only judges episode. Is just be like, and improv done.
Only judges? Oh, I'm not subscribed to those yet. But yeah, no.
All right. Any other questions for Phzoul on his game?
No one in chat, so I think.
Who's your favorite Cthulhu deity?
Questions on his one shot.
Oh, okay, fine. When can I get you to Delta Green? No, that's still not the one shot. Oh, okay, sorry. Well,
all right.
Sorry, I do have a question, but it's for Luca. Do you regret going second now, or?
I mean, a little bit, but it's fine.
All right.
Proper was maybe right about that.
Let's switch over to her.
Yeah, without too much else, we'll hand it over to Luca. It's your turn to show us what you got.
Well, hi. What I've got is not as many maps as I truly wanted. I guess that's the thing about having more than an hour to prep usually, is I can spend just so many hours up late at night just going through battle maps, but that's not what happened here. So, I don't know, Turk, I've got music playing.
Oh, I can
you
swap
wanted
over.
to
Robert, what do you think?
switch?
Yeah, let me All right, we're over.
All right, it's kind of spacey music. I have set this up, and I don't know how you're showing all this, but if you pull up my outline, it should show the majority of things. But the title of my one shot is called The Gloom Rift. First up is the introduction. Since the Spell War, silvery rifts have appeared in the Astral Sea. They tug on people's souls, stealing from them their vitality, their desire to go on. People affected give in to gloom and despair, eventually just stopping living altogether. So then we go into scene 1, the setup on Zeter, which is floating in the Astral Sea. It's the green and misty kind of isle. And if you click on it, I have linked the handouts from the outlines, so you can go right from the outline and click on the handout to pull up. And usually I do this for myself when I write a one shot, so that I just have the outline, click on it, and I'll have like the description there, and any additional like GM notes that I need, but obviously we're in limited time, so it's like just a one line like, here's Zeter. It's green and misty. So in this initial kind of setup, the scene one, the Sisterhood Beyond Space, and I did not link this one, so you will have to go and click on it, Turk. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, I know exactly where it is.
My beautiful, beautiful ladies. The Sisterhood Beyond Space has asked your little chapter to travel to the Village of Darkness, located on the remains of a dead god's skull near Zeter. There is one there known as the Swarm of Cruelty, said to know how the gloom rifts can be healed. And again, I did not link that one, sorry.
I got you, don't worry. I know where your bug people are.
So, scene 2, I actually do have a map for if you can switch to that.
Well, yes.
I don't know if
Yes,
yeah,
sorry.
Okay.
Boom.
So this is your ship, your astral ship that you set off on, the Premonition, and there is a handout for it. And I have it set so, like, you know, we can put in like an astral plane encounter staple, which I have, but did not put into Roll20. But you can, you've got your ship that you can set off on the way to the Skull of Sanctum, the dead god. And who knows what you will come across in your journey through the astral sea. It literally could be anything. But eventually you will get to the Village of Darkness on the skull of the dead god Sanctum. And while you are here in the Village of Darkness, on this skull of the dead god, which I don't know if you want to show, I've got a handout for that one too.
I got you.
There will be effects that you can roll against of like how you are affected wandering about on the skull of a dead god. So there's opportunity for different roleplay effects, different physical effects, all sorts of things. Think all the bad tables, or potentially good tables that usually affect Harpers. So you have to go through the Village of Darkness. Now, this place is not highly populated. The kinds of creatures or peoples you could find here are very much people that survive on the edges of society. So there are a lot of potentially strange characters you can come across, but eventually you can find the lair of the Swarm of Cruelty, which is a giant swarm that speaks as a single entity, however, with the voice of thousands, kind of echoing as it replies to you. And you can, of course, have the option to fight it, as always. You can attempt to bargain with it. Perhaps there was something in the village you found of worth, or something like that you can attempt to negotiate with it. Or these types of entities always have some sort of riddle or test that you can undergo to prove that you're worth them sharing their gifts. So just regardless of how you go through this encounter, the rewards at the end of it are the Dawn Stone, a glittering stone shining with an inner light, almost too bright to look at, just giving off the most intense magical aura, as well as the Vorpal Wound, which is a giant Vorpal sword said to be capable of killing gods. So you can leave the skull of the dead god Sanctum with these items that the Swarm of Cruelty either lets you have, or you pry it from its cold dead husks. So it would tell you that the key to all of this lies devotion, which you have heard of. It is a giant egg floating in the astral sea. And what you will have learned from your talks with the swarm of cruelty, hopefully. But if you did not get to talking, there are, of course, carvings and things of that nature around its lair that you can possibly put together the following, which is the astral sea is a place of dreams and exploration. It is not meant for new birth. The concentrated magics of the spell war hundreds of years ago fed into the dreams of Sanctum, that now dead god. Dreams of youth, dreams of life, dreams of new beginnings, and so devotion began to form. But the astral sea is not a place meant for such an event, and her growth tears holes in the very fabric of the sea. So the characters must choose. They will have to decide. The Vorpal wound is said to be capable of killing a god, but perhaps there is something they can do with the Dawnstone. And at this point, honestly, I would leave this very much up to the characters. They may choose to just use that Vorpal wound to just drive the blade into this egg, destroying this. And I've kind of gone through the two options here in scene 5, which I call the wrap up. If the characters decide to kill the god, the rifts are healed. But the people affected across the sea never really return to their former selves. However, there will be no more gloom rifts. They are sealed. However, if the characters activate the Dawnstone, a new light, sun, but it's the astral sea, so it won't really be a sun. But it will be a new light, and it will burst into being, burning brightly with the hopes of the dead god Sanctum. It will be enough to feed the new dragon Devotion, and she will hatch forth from her egg, bringing new life into the astral sea, and sustained by this new light. It will no longer be drawing on the world around it to grow. People affected by the gloom will return to normal, anguish and despair gone. And that's my one shot.
Now, immediate question that comes to mind, is this Tony proof? In that I need to ask, are you prepared for the players to try and adopt a giant stellar dragon?
Absolutely. I don't know that a giant stellar dragon would be willing to be a pet, but they can adopt it in terms of like a new friend. Much as the Harpers before have adopted Elitha liches and things of that nature, So it can happen. But like I said, on the astral plane encounters, some of the ones that are possible is you can come across Thought and Memory, Odin's ravens, that are out on an errand. So you could always try and adopt them. There's always just random things you can come across in the astral sea. So there's plenty. As Tony knows, there's always the possibility of an astral hound wandering around somewhere that you can attempt to tame. Who knows if you'll be successful.
Are you familiar with Hunin and Munin?
Yes, I didn't know how to pronounce those ones, so I just said memory.
I'm pretty sure Turk just said a bunch of vowels in it.
Hunin and Munin.
It's Huginn and Muninn, and I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I just went with the.
Look. I'm basing most of this off of American Gods, so you're fine. I get my other question right off the bat is what. So you said this mostly in 5e, correct?
Yeah.
So what challenge level? What level would you like the players to be at ideally for this? Is this
so
any kind of
ideally, I would love to do what I've seen some GMs do on DM's Guild, where it's like they list like kind of the standard, I would say 5 to 7, right? But there's in each table, there's like, if you want to run it at this level, do this and this and this. If you want to run it at this level, do this and this and this. I always really appreciate it when DMs do that because it saves me the work of having to do it because I don't pay attention to what level someone says an adventure is. It's like whatever it is, I'll run it for the story and the adventure and just change the level of whatever I want. But it's always really helpful when the DMs do that for me when they put the adventure on DM's Guild.
Yeah. So 5 to 7 with some leniencies. If you had more time, you'd stat everything out. I mean, so I guess if I don't know if you statted out the swarm, but if you
No, absolutely I did not.
So if you did have time, I need to know what were you going to ideally try and set this up as? Is it going to be like a series of like a swarm spawning enemy, or is it going to be like just it's all swarms all the time? How's this fight work in your head? Yeah.
I think in my head it would actually be as like one big thing and a bunch of like mobs. It like kind of forms together almost like little swarms into these like plated like men shapes that attack you. And they can split apart and try and envelop you, doing like grapple moves where they're biting at your skin the whole time, that sort of thing. Well, you've still got the big main one to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some big move, like some AoE, like, you know, something like that, like an acid breath or something bug-like.
Oh yeah. And then I also have to ask, what would the communication angle of that that swarm thing? It's a swarm of cruelty. What is the dealings with them entail?
Like just from a roleplay perspective?
Yeah. What did you have in mind?
Well, it's a giant bug that kind of sits up in its lair on this like kind of abandoned dreams of a dead god, kind of living off of whatever energies remain here. So if you could bring it something powerful, something like that it could feed off of, that would be something you could bargain with. But ultimately, it's going to want to eat you and consume you. It's a cruel creature. It's not one that's gonna be able to be reasoned with from like a side of like, oh, but it'll be good for the universe kind of thing. You're going to have to appeal to its nature, which is one of self-preservation and selfishness and cruelty.
If I could tack on to that, because you kind of brought it up, out of curiosity, is this where the feed me ingredient comes in, or?
So you could do it there, but honestly, where I meant to put it in was that the whole sea is kind of feeding devotion, as she's growing.
That makes sense.
But if you activate the Dawnstone, it can actually serve as a source to feed her, so she stops tearing apart the sea around her.
Makes sense.
Okay, I'll ask the same question as I did Phzoul. What's one thing you're really proud of, and what's one thing, if you had more time, you'd totally change?
If I had more time, it would be fleshing out all of the encounters and descriptions of places, the maps, so that it just kind of, you can seamlessly run through it. It's like, here's this map and here's the description of where you are. Here's this map and here's this description of all these possible encounters or people you might come across in this village of darkness on your way to seek out the lair of a swarm. Putting in the random encounter tables. One thing I'm really proud of is that I came up with this at all. I don't know where any of this came from. I was over here like, all right, whatever happens, like I'm just gonna pull from all of my favorite TV shows and blah blah blah. And this just like kind of happened, and I don't know where it's from. Usually you can point
Luca's
to
out here freaking out that she had an original idea, which is truly shocking.
I mean, a little bit, yeah. That's what I'm most proud of.
Another question I don't think was asked. If you were to run this outside of D&D, do you think this would translate well to other systems?
Yeah, I mean, I could see this being run Monster of the Week very easily. the whole like investigate like situation, like what's going on here kind of thing would play very well into just about every situation. Especially since I didn't actually get any time to stat anything out. It's very much like drag and drop into any system because it's just the narrative that's built out here.
I guess I'll ask my one of my same questions there, which is now that you've seen all the ingredients, if you're gonna go back and try and make a one-shot, having all of them ready, do you think you'd make the same thing? Do you think you would have went a different way with those added elements, or no idea? That's also not.
I have no idea. I really have no idea. I mean, you said spaceship, and I have some things planned for another thing I'm running, and it was like, okay, I cannot use any of that. So it's like, okay, let's go Astral Sea. Let's do this. I know this place, so I have a lot of fun with this place. Let's go here. And then, I mean, you said too big or too small, and it was like, what? I don't know. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe they get a little tiny pocket elephant. I have no idea. Do you know what I mean?
That was
And I was like,
actually in my original description, as I was gonna do like a pocket elephant. And then I actually ended up
really
changing
the first
it.
thing that popped into my head, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense
Only
narrative-wise.
discussed the pocket elephant in the room.
It doesn't fit.
Yeah, no, I there's no way I would come up with the same thing from beginning to end. There's no way, because so much of it like was just like, oh, I don't know, start typing, see what I got.
Here's a question that's sort of a joke, but maybe it isn't. Does the Astral Sea count does the ship that the Astral Sea, your ship flying through, count as a spaceship?
I mean, it's astral in the name, so yes, I would say so. It's literally D&D space.
Got you on the Greek there.
No, it's a plane of existence. Is that different than space?
I mean, isn't space just a plane of existence?
Isn't everything just?
We can just go around here. It's fantasy. It's space fantasy. So.
It's yeah.
I'd count it.
Purple, any last questions?
I don't know. Phzoul, do you have any comments or questions you want to jump in for what you've seen your competitor make?
Sure. Yep. No real questions. Probably just a comment about what I thought was great about it. One is that if you think about my adventure from a player's perspective, I give you it's very narrow in terms of what you can create. You're a technician, you're a scientist. The thing that's really cool about Luca's adventure is that the players can actually use their imagination and create, like the setup, like the world is fantastical, which means the characters can be fantastical. And I think that, so for me, I think the Luca's adventure would have, if I think about D&D being the most popular game, it would have broader appeal, whereas with mine, you need to like horror, you need to like playing normal people, right, to some extent. The other is I guess the contrast between mine takes place all on one ship. It's very claustrophobic, and to some extent it's very familiar. Like the GM has these very tight rules of reality, whereas again from a GM perspective in Luca's adventure, the GM really is not constrained by anything, not even physics. Like even though mine might have time dilation, my universe has rules. And Luca's doesn't. The skull of a god. I mean, it's funny. As soon as you said that, it immediately conjured up awe in my mind, like an impression of awe, right? So
anything can happen,
Yeah, I guess that would be my observation, that in her adventure, it really is a playground, and in my adventure, it's not really a playground. It's it's much more structured and confined, both in terms of the GM and the players. So it's just my observation. So I thought it was very cool, very good.
All right. With no further questions, I think we're gonna have each of you, if you can, sum up your adventure in about 2 to 3 sentences for the chat, if you can. Just something quick. It doesn't have to be 2 or 3 sentences. Just as quickly as you can, just be like, here's what it is, if you're going to give like a quick elevator pitch. And then chat, keep in mind, Your vote matters. We're going to be putting up a vote here as we take a quick break to do our judging for about, I think we're at like 10 minutes is what we'll do. Vote, and it'll count to our final count. So whichever these 2 one-shots you would most want to play or you're most excited by, try and use that as a basis and vote for the one you think is best. So with that, Phzoul, since you went first, I'll have you go first, give you a little 1 to 3 sentence pitch, and then Luca, you'll be after that.
Sure. So basically, the adventure is about space salvagers finding a derelict ship. When they board it, they get trapped in this cycle of time dilation, where the entire universe begins and ends. And in the void before the Big Bang is an entity that wants to escape and basically destroy the entire universe. One of the characters is trying to stop it, not being played by the character, an actual NPC that they find on board the ship, because they've done this before. And the climax of it is essentially trying to reseal this alien device while fending off the entity which wants to basically take control of the characters. There we go. Couple sentences.
Perfect. Luca, you want to give yours?
Okay, you're a bunch of badasses in space with a ship that has sails, and you are trying to save people in this universe from despair that's taking away their souls, and you travel to the skull of a dead god, bargain or fight a cruel swarm, and then you either kill the dead god's dreams or birth them into a dragon.
Perfect. That, chat, keep all that in mind and what you've seen before. We'll set up a poll, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes once we've finished up our judging and have our results in. Thank you.
All right. See you in a few.
Hello, and welcome back to Iron GM. The votes are in. Us judges have made our decision, and so is chat. And to start off, you've all seen it already in chat if you were watching, but chat has voted for Lukalock's one-shot. So Lukalock, you're awarded a bonus 5 points from chat.
Yay!
And with that, we'll go to the winner of the competition with 53 points. It is the Gloom Rift. Lukalock, your one-shot has won with those added points from chat and the points from judges. You're the winner. Now, if
Swear to
you...
God, that thing happened that they talk about in movies where everything kind of went fuzzy for a second when you were talking.
Yes,
Okay.
I did say you won.
Okay.
You didn't go wah 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 wah. Please pitch everything you're in, and how you're feeling and what you think. Go for it. It's your stage.
I mean, okay, so I was saying this when we were off stream, like during break, but like I've been telling anyone who will listen that like if I was gonna be up against anyone or anything like that, it would be Phzoul that like I wanted to compete against, because like I mean, like I know you say I won, but like I want to play his adventure, so like I appreciate you guys like voting for mine, but like meanwhile I'm creating some super gritty character ready to go fight some ancient space entity tentacly thing and put back together some artifact. So I'm really excited to just like be up against Phzoul, because there's no one better to compete against in my mind. He's my absolute favorite DM. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm mostly just very in shock still that I created something out of nothing in an hour. I feel like I need to investigate that more. See if there's more to that. So other than that, I don't know, I'm just kind of spinning right now.
Well, if you want to talk through what you got coming up, anything you want to plug, take it away.
I've got lots of things to plug, so yeah. My big thing, and I don't know if you guys have seen me yelling about it enough, part of that is due to me being the social media manager for it, but part of it is just my general excitement. But Crucible Magazine is coming to the end of its Kickstarter. It's got less than 48 hours left. And so if you haven't seen this yet, it is a 5e magazine that's going to be filled with adventures, interviews, comics, character sheets, all sorts of battle maps, magic items with custom, it's not stock art, it's like custom artists creating the art for these magic items. And it's like over 80 pages every issue, released every month, and it comes in print. You get print. You can get just digital PDF, or it comes as like you just lock and load as a VTT module in Foundry. You just load it in, and it's got all the walls for dynamic lighting and all that sort of stuff just loaded, ready to go. I don't know if you saw, but I ran Draxor and Del last night, and I had like 20 minutes of prep. I hadn't even read through the adventure when I ran it. So that's a testament to everything that it is. But it's really cool, and it's going to be every month, and it's going to be on Patreon after the Kickstarter is done. Like the magazine's already funded. This was just to basically how many issues will be paid for at the start. But they have a whole bunch of cool stretch goals and add-ons and all sorts of really awesome stuff, including glow-in-the-dark dice. So go check it out. It's cruciblemag.com, or just Crucible Magazine on Kickstarter if you just look it up. But there's that, and I'm going to plug that all day, every day, because we got less than 48 hours left. But for me personally, tomorrow is the premiere of Harper's Season 3? It's gonna be a little bit of a depart from normal Harper's. It's Harper's Variants, and the first session will seem very familiar, and then after that, it won't anymore seem familiar. We are gonna end up playing through a bunch of different systems, TTRPG systems, as the Harpers travel through the realms. No longer just the Forgotten Realm. So there's that happens tomorrow, and it premieres at 6 p.m. Pacific on Twitch. I'm very excited about that. And then also, I'm just playing and stuff. I'm over on Nat 20 tomorrow in the afternoon, playing my Watership Down inspired rabbit folk person, traveling through the demi-planes of dread, wishing I had chosen Warlock instead because I'm always out of spell slots. And then I am getting an Emerald Enclave on the 21st, and then on the 26th, Dark Echoes is back, as well as Murder and Coffee, and we are going to be talking with Tony +1 about tables made up of humans. It'll be a lot of fun. So that's me. I'm Lukalock, and I am everywhere as Lukalock.
Thank you. And then to our other contestant, Phzoul, please pitch everything you got. Tell us what you're in, what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, congratulations. I have to mention that the only reason why I ever came into the TPK sphere was because of Lukalock. I mean, it makes sense that that we're up against each other, and again, if there's anyone, I'm not surprised. I know you said you were surprised, but I had mentioned this to several of you before, but she had run one of my adventures as a part of Harper's, and I was like, wow, look at this celebrity running one of my adventures. And so that was my mentality. So it wasn't. Listen, I'm humbled by you saying I'm your favorite GM, but the reality is, at the beginning, you know, it was like you were this online celebrity. So that's cool, and you just reaffirmed it.
Meanwhile, you reached out to us, and I was just screaming in the Discord like, "Oh my God, the author's here! Guys, he's here! Nobody scare him away. Everybody be cool."
So anyway, congratulations, well deserved, and it was an awesome adventure. And again, I wouldn't mind playing it myself. As for me, so I actually so on Drive-Thru RPG, if you look up One Shot RPG, that's me. I created the one-shot RPG system, and kind of I write it to write adventures because life is busy and we run campaigns, but at my table there's someone can't show up. That happens, and if we can't continue with the campaign, I want a good one-shot adventure that I can fit in 4 hours. That's kind of the mentality behind it. So there's all kinds of eras and genres. I have modern horror, adventuring in the Age of Witches, which was actually inspired by TPK Halloween game. I have Dark Ages. I'm going to be releasing a pulp 1935. Covert Red, which is James Bond, kind of modern espionage. So I try to cover the gambit, and each adventure, I try to make it compelling, full of twists. And who knows? Maybe I'll take the ideas from tonight's, massage it, and you'll see that up there one day. But yeah. By the way, if you're a part of the TPK community and you're on Discord, and you want an adventure, just reach out to me. I don't mind sharing them with the community. Although I should note, they are all pay what you want, which means you can pay zero. So I understand that I do it for kind of the fun, and understand that people's economic means are very different. So you can't just go on DriveThruRPG and download them. So that's basically what I'm doing. What am I in next? I have to think about what I'm GMing next for TPK, because Lord of the Rings, we're doing that in the fall when Amazon launches. But there's a lot of time between now and then, so I have to put my thinking cap on. So if you have any suggestions,
Terminator.
Oh yeah, that's right. I came up with the poster for that. Terminator is the next thing I'm doing on TPK is Terminator.
And so it is written. All right. Thank you, contestants. We'll go through our judges quick and just give a brief synopsis of what you guys got going on. Turk, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, both myself and Proper won't remember Lucas' comments at all. But congratulations to both our contestants on putting together an absolutely fantastic pair of one-shots. I would love to play in both of them, and is only further credentializing yourselves both as incredible creators. And I look forward to what you do with the rest of this series. If you want more of me and my dumb face, you can follow me on TurkAccented on Twitch and Twitter. Tomorrow I'll be over on Lost Caravans RPG with some Honey Heist. So once you're done checking out Harper's, you can come watch some absolute buffoonery. Or bearfoonery? Unclear. Either way, we're stealing Beyonce. The 16th, I'll be right back here with Hubris of Man, an Aliens campaign run by, as Phzoul noted, the ever-wonderful Meg Mysteria. So if you're a fan of what Phzoul is doing, I assure you, you will enjoy what Meg has concocted. It's been really good. Every Sunday, you can find me on Lost RPG playing some Lancer. It's become a weekly campaign because they literally could not get enough of our tendencies towards just becoming a polycule. And then finally on the 22nd, you can find me right back here DMing Oathsworn, an Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign that combines Greek mythology and D&D. Oh, thank you, Purple. I could hear you typing that out, and I appreciate it a whole bunch.
Sorry,
No, you're good. No, you're good. Oats are warm, and sometimes oats are hot as tensions run high with a family reunion of sorts in this latest episode. So if you want to jump in now, I think any session would be a perfect time to let my players absolutely whisk you away. They do an excellent job, and I am lucky to have them. But thank you all once again for in chat, for being our decision makers here, because we are an indecisive lot of judges. You should support everyone you see on screen because they're all incredibly wonderful. And I'll toss over to Proper.
Hello, my name is PurpleNerdy. I'm a TPK staff member, role player, game master, and sometimes game designer. My next big thing, because evidently TPK Roleplay is the only group that's gonna let me stream content, is Cataclysmal, a story about saviors, a new game based on my original Generational, and I have a lovely cast who will be trying it out for the very first time on March 28th, so I hope you get a chance to join us. Purple, take it away.
All right. Yes. So I've been PurpleFill, your host here. I'd like to again also extend a thank you to all of the chatters that have been here, sending messages, congratulations, and all of that, as well as everyone who voted. incredibly important part of this process, and we appreciate it. It makes it's nice to see to add other opinions in and to get that vote in. It's very important. So if you were listening and you didn't vote, think about it next time, because you can really swing the tides of this game. But with that said, next time indeed, on April 11th, we will have Ashen Rabbit versus Tate Washburn, our last first round of the tournament, our last of the first round of the tournament. It's very exciting, both stellar GMs, and I'm really excited to see what they have. But that said, we have Luca moving on towards the semifinals, and we will see Phzoul again yet in our special consolation round, I think is what we're calling it, but it's going to be a fun group stage where as a team they have to make a one-shot, which I'm very excited to see.
Talk about
with that,
polyfills.
with that, I have nothing else to add, so thank you all and have a good night.